Welcome back, everybody. From the studio to your closet or cupboards. How about this? Shop official RP show gear at rodpeterson.com. Click on RP store. We got to get Coach DuBuc some of this, a coffee mug. I probably get you one, Coach, or a hoodie or a T-shirt. Matt DuBuc joining us, CFL alum, three-time Florida State high school coach champion. How you doing, Coach?
Good. How you doing?
Good. You coach the Chiefs, but for this portion, we're going to talk Kansas City Chiefs. I'm going to start here. Are the Kansas City Chiefs done?
I don't think so. They're probably two pieces away from getting going again. Maybe Tyreek Hill will go back. That's the rumor today down here. But I don't think so. I mean, anytime you have Patrick Mahomes, I think you got a chance. And I think they'll give him what he needs. But I think Kelsey is probably his better days are way behind. He looks it.
Mm-hmm. He looks old and slow and certainly distracted. But here you go. Matt DuBuc is saying the Kansas City Chiefs are not done. Next one. Tonight, we have a Monday night football doubleheader. The Buccaneers at the Texans, followed by the Chargers at the Raiders. Which will be the better game?
I like the Buccaneers game. I like the coach. I think he's done a good job. Baker Mayfield's fun to watch, competitive. So I would go with Tampa Bay.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. Because the winner of the night game takes over sole possession of first in the AFC West. But there's reasons to watch both games tonight. They're going to be fantastic. And I know you want to talk CFL, and we're going to get around to some college too. But you've been hard on the Dolphins for as long as I've known you, and I feel like they're at the worst shape they've been since I've known you. What's your take on the Finns?
If you're an old school, old grown guy and you grew up going to the games at the Orange Bowl and watching Dan Marino and Mark Clayton, Mark Duper, Joe Rose, Hardy, the Killer Bees, and then you watch what you have here now. It's almost a combination of college football at UCLA the other night. $60 million payroll, and it didn't look like the Lobos went in there and slapped them around, and it didn't even look like they were motivated to play the game. So I see that with the Dolphins too. It's kind of apathy. Maybe it's probably time for a coaching change. He's lost the fan base. I can tell you that. And he came in with all these ideas, and the first year and a half, Tyreek was really explosive, and then it just has gone south quick, like going to Key West south.
Well, listen, you've coached a long time, and you played at a very high level and won championships. What did you think of McDaniel's post-game news conference last night? Like he was on another planet mentally.
I haven't liked a news conference from him in 2 years. I'm old school. I'm not for the joggers out there and the crazy sunglasses and all that stuff. Like more of a, I don't wear a tie, but I'm a Tom Landry type guy. Clean cut, get out there and put something, make yourself look like a leader and not as part of the band, I should say. And I think that's what it's come down to in Miami. And Greer's been here for 9 years and has not done anything to make us into the playoff team that we should. So I think there's going to be massive change if they get bounced around by Buffalo, which is a great possibility. There'll be a change there, and I'd love to have John Gruden or somebody like that that's fiery and feisty and knows the game of football and respects on how it's supposed to be played.
Listen, I would like to switch gears, but I can't switch gears on that topic. John Gruden, like after that topic, John Gruden is basically banned, is he not? And for that matter, it appears Belichick is too. Like, do you really think there's a chance Gruden would be the next coach here?
I've heard his name pop up for the Florida Gators. So if he can play, if he can coach in college football, why couldn't he coach in the NFL? I'm not 100% on what went down, but I do know that some of the things that were said were taken out of context from what the reports are. I'm not a reporter, but in the world we're living in today, it's everybody gets a second chance. I don't know why he would.
because Roger Goodell has a personal issue with him. That's how he can coach in college, but not the NFL. That's my belief, and that's coming out of Las Vegas, and you and I both have the same contacts there, so you probably have a pretty good idea who I'm talking about. What were your week 3 college football takeaways?
Arch Manning, I don't know. I watched him in high school, and I thought he was way overvalued at that time, and it's starting to show a little bit. But there's so much hype around that guy. Like the New Mexico Lobos, where my son plays, beating UCLA in the Rose Bowl. That was pretty awesome. The Miami Hurricanes look like the real deal. And I've never been a Hurricanes fan, but we got a kid committed to Miami right now, and boy, they're really good on offense. They're flying around on defense. So, just hometown team. Probably better fan base right now than the Dolphins have, the Hurricanes.
By far. By far. And I've had a fun little poll just asking football people who they think is the best team in college football. And I get it. Everyone has a different answer. Some say OSU, some say LSU. Who's it for you?
I don't know. It's so early. You got to let it play out. But the blue bloods like Notre Dame, and they're pretty much out of it now. And Texas sounds like they're pretty much out of it now. Tennessee should have won against Georgia. They didn't on that last second field goal that was missed in Tennessee. So I don't think Tennessee's going to go anywhere. That guy does a good job, Heupel. So yeah, I think that's LSU's. Brian Kelly's proven. So yeah, there's a lot of football to be played.
Sammy in Daytona Beach is watching. He says FSU is the best team in football right now. Brent in Wellington, Florida, who you met at the Panthers game the night you were wearing the Rider T-shirt. Brent Wellington from Wellington says, I agree with Coach. Lose the sunglasses and wear your pants normal until you earn the right to dress like a goofball. Man, are they all over McDaniel here. Sammy says he looks like a tool.
You know who that Sammy is, Dustin? That's Sammy Gohagan.
I know. Yes, I know exactly who it is. Bomber Boy says, what, should they wear 3-piece suits? I don't think people understand. Those joggers but here's the thing, Matt. You remember when he was hired, everybody thought that was cool. Now they don't think it's cool anymore. The only reason is because they're not winning.
Yeah, but he was hired because our last coach was such a disciplinarian, and he's not. So he can, come in as a cool dude, and that lasted for about a year and a half. In the last 3 years, it's just not been good football. And, listen, there's a lot of blame to go on the GM. I mean, Tua hasn't played, his numbers weren't bad on Saturday, but he throws timely interceptions. If you make him roll to his left, he's highly inaccurate. He throws across his body, and it doesn't have anything on the ball. They throw nothing but short passes to the running back. They don't get it down the field like they did 2 years ago. So yeah, his completion percentage was high, but they were a lot of check downs and a lot of flat throws to the back. And yeah, I could throw for 70% completion percentage doing that.
I was, by the way, speaking of you, I was halfway to Fort Lauderdale Thursday night when I got a notification on my phone that your game had been canceled. I felt bad that I went right to the top of the organization and texted you. Is it true? And you said, yeah. So I snapped off my route and went to the beach house and had a nice meal there. But tell the folks how the Cardinal Gibbons Chiefs are doing.
We're 1-1. We should have played 4 already, and Mother Nature in South Florida has been terrible. Whether it's been lightning and not getting on the practice field, really frustrating. We're going to try to play Saturday night this week at Coconut Creek. Yeah, we're 1-1. Scoring a lot of points, a lot of yards. Our first game we lost by 7, 42-35. We had 600 yards of offense, and you're not supposed to lose those games. But we found a way, and it's been a little frustrating as we have gotten started this year. And the schedule doesn't get any easier, so we're going to have to get after every day of practice, and then get after it on Saturday night this week.
Okay, well, I'll be there. I haven't been to a game at Coconut Creek High School yet, so I'm looking forward to that. And before we get to the CFL, which I know you're dying to talk about, I did have a football related question specifically to this. You put a lot of players in the NFL, including Blair Walsh, right? What is it with these kickers now that 50 plus yard field goals are automatic? The percentages are higher than ever in the NFL, and the distances are longer than ever. How has it become easy for them?
I think just a specialization in training. That 15, 20 years ago, a guy could kick the ball. He didn't have a kicking guru. There were no places for those guys to really go together to train. And it's like punting and snapping. You don't know you got a bad snapper until it's a bad snap. And all these guys, it's the same thing. Think about how important the hold is for the snap. So I think it's just been a project of time of people really saying, okay, we're gonna really. And again, I'll go back to the days 10 years ago when Nick Saban. If I was Nick Saban and I made $10 million, I would have a kicking guru. I would have a quarterback guru that I'd say, just go find me the best kicker, best punter, and the best quarterback. I'll pay him out of my own pocket because those guys win the games that are close. So why not invest in them? And that's how I feel about it.
Yeah. And so overlooked. It's funny because I'm not going to switch gears to hockey here, but the topic came up on the weekend about the Panthers and when are they going to have to worry about replacing Sergei Bobrovsky? And I'm like, well, probably at least 3 years. He's 37 now, but you don't got to worry about drafting. Go buy somebody. That's what they did. That's what they did with Bob. Gave him $10 million a year, overpaid, and it's worked out because it's the most important position on the field. I know that quarterbacks are more important than kickers. I think you would agree with that, but still very important.
Well, yeah, it's important. And then, it goes back into the longevity of your contracts, getting new contracts, moving up in the profession based on other people's performances. And you obviously need to have a guy that can kick the ball. Look at Tennessee. Tennessee misses that kick at the end of the game. Heupel is now 3-0, and he's number one on the polls for the playoff. And now he's sitting outside of it off of a kick. So, yeah, those are important positions, and you can't overlook them. And if you do, you're playing with fire.
How many CFL games were you able to watch this week, if any?
I watched part of Friday night because my other son was playing Friday night at UCLA, so I didn't really get much of that. I saw Dogie come in for Toronto and win the game for Toronto, which was pretty cool because he's an air raid guy. I know his brother that coaches, so I was glad to see that. Montreal, I had texted Noel the other day. I said, call me crazy, but I think this is going to be the Grey Cup. Those two teams are going to be in the Grey Cup. I believe that. I still love Trevor Harris. I've read a few posts that he's been regressing through the season. I thought he played fine. And when Davis Alexander comes back with that defense and those weapons that Montreal has, and it looked like they got the running game going, so I think they're going to be pretty tough to beat, Montreal. Yep, you heard it here.
Well, if that's a Grey Cup preview, Rider fans won't like it. I mean, 530 yards offense for Montreal Saturday night in that football game, and I watched it in the Keys, and the Riders were never in that game. And I mean, you've played in Saskatchewan, right? But you haven't been there long enough to soak up how nuts the fans are, I assume.
Listen, I played at Penn State. I've played at Texas A&M. I played at Texas. I played at some of the biggest venues. I was just at Michigan 2 weeks ago, 110,000 people. I know what Saskatchewan is, and I know they have a great fan base, and I know how passionate they are. But it's what you would call a football city, and there's a lot of them around the country. Most of them in the United States in the Southeastern Conference or the Big Ten. But
right. All I'm saying is last hour, Scruffy was on here. He's in the Queen City, Saskatchewan. He goes, they're panicking. I'm like, what? They're 10-3. What, do you have a word for them?
Bored. They must be bored. I mean, listen, every time you go out, there's a chance you're going to lose. I don't care who you are, and they just better be very, very, very happy that their quarterback is still upright and playing in Week 13, because that hasn't been the case the last few years. And Tommy Stevens, I think that was the best pickup for O'Day on third down, and he put one on the ground the other night. So listen, you keep playing games, you're going to see some people get exposed, make mistakes. And you knew it was a matter of time before Montreal was going to get going, and they got going in one night. Now what are they going to do next week? Are they, MBT played great, hadn't played in 5 weeks, but prior to that he wasn't playing good. So, maybe he's seeing at the end of his career, and he's like, all right, I better get it going, or else nobody's going to offer me a contract next year if he still wants to play. But Winnipeg could use him, that's for sure.
Well, it's funny you say that. By the way, Sammy wants us all to know. He says, of course, I brought Deggy into the league. Haha. That's from Sammy. Just wants everybody to know. He says that he goes, they're known to fold in the playoffs. Who are we talking? Oh, are you talking about the Riders? You must be talking about the Riders, because Montreal does not. But it doesn't sound like you watched the Winnipeg-Hamilton game. They can't win without Zach Collaros. And a viewer wrote in here earlier that Winnipeg should go out and trade for Chad Kelly at the trade deadline, or before the trade deadline. If you're Toronto, would you make that move?
No, absolutely not. Chad Kelly's a generational talent in the CFL. You don't get rid of Chad Kelly, period. Now, Chad Kelly prices himself out of the marketplace. That's a different story. But you don't get rid of Chad Kelly. Strevler, he's a good third down quarterback. I just don't. I don't see it. I don't think he can throw it enough times accurately in the CFL as the ball's thrown in the air so much. They need a passer. He's more of that guy that can come in and run for 30 yards on a play, like Tommy Stevens. But to put all your eggs in that basket, I don't know what they have at number 3, but I'm sure they're looking right now.
Wayne in Victoria, BC says, yeah, I don't know when he's going to be back, but Wayne in BC says, I'm not panicking. The Riders are fine. Will they win the Grey Cup? At least they're in the dance. How would you approach the final 5 games if you were Corey Mason? You've clinched already.
I'd do everything to keep my quarterback healthy. That's number 1. Number 2, I'd figure out what the heck is going on with the kicker, because he was so good last year, and it looks like he's lost his confidence. And we've been talking about kickers today. I think he's a hell of a kicker, but he has not performed to the same level he performed a year ago. So I'd worry about that. And try to, I don't know what's wrong with the returner. I just got a brain lock.
Number
Alfred?
2.
Yeah, I don't think he played last year. Yeah, he's been injured a lot. I'd try to get him healthy because he's a game breaker. And then, hey, listen, we're talking about guys in the CFL. That's another position. You better go out and spend money on a guy that can return those kicks, can handle the football, is 100% confident when to take it out of the end zone or when to put a knee down. Those guys are valuable. And I think Jeremy is super smart on having Alfred on the team and playing.
Yeah, he played Saturday night. I watched the game. Coach, we are out of time. This has been fantastic. We covered it all. Thanks for this, and I'll see you Saturday night.
All right. Keep in touch with me. Hey, is your number the Canadian number still or what?
No, it's U.S. now.
Numbers? Okay.
U.S. number. Yeah. All right. We got it cleared up. We'll be right back with a sports update and viewer takeover the rest of the way. Be right back here on Game Plus TV.